Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry it's been such a long time since I've done a video. You can probably tell that I am actually filming on a new camera, which is the reason why I haven't been around lately. So yeah, I've got a new camera, so I hope the quality is okay for you. I know it's a bit different, but it still should be okay. Today I'm going to share with you the books I read in March. I know it's literally like halfway through April, but I still wanted to share with you all the books that I read in March. So I'm sorry it's a bit late, but I hope you can still enjoy it. So in March, I believe I read a total of 4 books, but I DNF'd one, which is why that number's not very high. And I spent such a long time on the book that I DNF'd. So I'm going to share that with you and why I DNF'd it, and then chat you through the other books I read in March. So I hope you enjoy this video. So the book I DNF'd in March was A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer, and I don't regret DNFing it, but I just really wasn't enjoying it at the time of reading, which is the reason I didn't finish this book. So this is a very modern retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and I just adore this cover, and I've heard so many good things about this book, but unfortunately it just wasn't gelling with me at the time. I felt the story was super repetitive, which is a reason why I stopped reading, and I just wasn't very attached to the characters. There's a character called Grey, which I've heard nothing but good things about, and he was probably the best character from the book, but I didn't have that much of an attachment with him as other people. So I am keeping this book on my shelf, and I'm going to try and read it again, maybe like in May. I'm not going to read it in April, but maybe in May, because I really think I would enjoy this if I was in the right mindset. Just at the time I wasn't in a fantasy mood, so I think I'm going to leave this on my shelf, give it another go, because I got over halfway, so I feel like I need to just bite the bullet and finish it. I'll probably start it from the beginning. But if you enjoyed this book, let me know, and I will give it another go. So after spending about half of the month on a book that I eventually DNF'd, I thought it would be best to finish the month, but continue with the month with some shorter books. So I picked up We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I'd heard really mixed things about this book, but I really enjoyed it. So this book is basically about one family who have their own little private island that they go to every single summer, and the main character Cadence, there was an accident that happened a year or 2 years before, I can't remember exactly when, and the book follows her as she's trying to remember how she had her accident and what happened and piece together all the stuff she'd forgotten about that event. So this was really cool. I can't remember what I rated it. I think I gave it like a 4. I think a 4 to a 4.5. But yeah, I super enjoyed it. I loved all the characters. There's not one character in this novel that I didn't like, and that's really unique for me because I normally don't like the characters. I'm not going to spoil the ending at all for you, but there was a big twist at the end, and it's my favourite type of twist. So when I read this, I was just so shocked and so happy with the book. It's really short, it's like 200 pages, so you could probably do this in one sitting. I think I read this over like 2 days. So yeah, if you've heard mixed things about it and you're not sure, I would definitely give it a go. Just because of how short it is, you'll get through it super quickly. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. So the next book I read in March was How I Live Now by Meg Rossoff, and I picked this up because I just loved the movie so much. I watched it about a month before, and then I saw this in a charity shop and I just had to pick it up. So this is about a 15-year-old girl called Daisy, and she goes to stay with her family in England as she's from New York. But unfortunately, as she starts settling into England, the country becomes occupied by the enemy, and a kind of World War III begins. And this book follows Daisy and her cousins as they're trying to keep themselves alive and live without adults, which is at first amazing. They love it, but obviously it doesn't stay that way for very long. I really liked this book. As it's told from the perspective of Daisy, it was kind of like a stream of consciousness prose, which at first was difficult to read because I've never read a book like that before. But once you get used to it, once you're kind of like a quarter of the way in, you'll start kind of warming to that and find it super endearing. And it just like really brings a message home that this is a child, and a child should never be going through these things. One thing I did also take away was similar to the last book. I loved all the characters like so much. Daisy is amazing. All her cousins are amazing. I loved following them. I was really invested in their lives. The ending was not amazing, but I think the ending was fine. It was kind of a bit confusing at first until you kind of know what's going on, but it's a decent ending. It's kind of how it should have ended in a way. Like, I don't think there's another way this book could have ended. So if you like quick reads and dystopian kind of novels, then definitely give this a go. I gave it 4 stars. So the next book I read is another short read because I was on such a roll with the other two, and that is 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. I'm sure you all know what this is about. You've probably all read it or seen the TV show or both. I had seen the show already, so I knew what to expect. But if you don't know, I'm sure you do. This is about a character called Clay Jensen, and this follows him over the time he is listening to a set of tapes that he received from Hannah Baker, a girl at his school and that he worked with that has recently committed suicide. So obviously it's a very, very touchy kind of subject. How I felt about this novel is I have problems with it. I gave it a 3 to 3.5 stars because it was a good read. I got through it super quickly. I did enjoy it. I liked the character of Clay, but the tapes, so hence the title, there's 13 tapes or 13 sides, and each side is a reason why Hannah Baker ended her life, and each reason is a separate person. So obviously my issue with this book is that she is blaming other people for a choice that was hers. Like, although these things led her to taking her own life, it was still her choice, and I think blaming it on others, some people as well that didn't really deserve to be blamed. I won't go into who and why in case you don't know and you haven't read it, but it is your own decision, and although things can happen that are really negative and they lead you into making that decision is ultimately your own. So I get this book, but I think that was a slight issue with the book. And another thing is that there are a lot of topics dealt with in this book. I actually found them dealt with okay. There are a few trigger warnings for like sexual assault and things like that, and I felt like those topics were dealt with kind of well, but I know some people don't, so you're going to have to read it and see what you think. What was really interesting about this novel is, if you've seen the TV show, you'll know that the tapes, the first season follows Clay listening to the tapes, and like you see him listening to them over kind of a long period of time. Like you see him at school interacting with the other people that are on the tapes, but this novel is literally set over one night and it's just Clay listening to the tapes all night. So yeah, I think it worked better like that. The second season of the show that is out is nothing to do with the book. This book is literally season 1, but cut even shorter than that. So they've kind of made the decisions on that based on their own views and not the views of the author. So take that how you will. So this book is just a super quick read. It deals with a lot of topics that I think are very important, but I feel like this could be damaging to younger readers, especially if you're not in the right mind frame to read it. So only read this if you're feeling like super well mentally, otherwise it's not going to have a great impact on you. And just take it with a pinch of salt when you read it. If you can look past those kind of mistakes and those negative feelings, then you might enjoy it, but take it with a pinch of salt, give it a read and see how you feel. I gave this, like I said, 3.5 stars. So the last book I read in March, I'm super excited to talk about. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy with me as I've lent it to my mum because I love the book so much, and that book is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I know you're all going to be shouting at your screens like, oh my god, I can't believe you haven't read this already. I finally read it. I absolutely adored it, like so much. I cannot wait to read The Wicked King. I am waiting to read The Wicked King before, because obviously I read paperbacks, as you can tell, and I don't buy hardbacks at all, and it's only out in hardback at the moment, which is very annoying. But I will probably read The Cruel Prince again before The Wicked King comes out. Sorry, I'm rambling, but this is what happens when you talk about a book that you're like entirely passionate about. So The Cruel Prince follows a character called Jude, who is taken into a fairy kingdom, a fairyland, after her parents are killed, and her and her sisters are all taken away to this fairyland. And the book just follows her as she's navigating her way through this world that she isn't really accepted or comfortable in, because obviously she's a human and everyone else is fairy. And you've got some slightly awful characters and some nice characters as well. You're navigating their personas, their characteristics, and I don't want to say any more because it will spoil it, but can I just say I absolutely adored this book. The main thing that I took away from this book that I absolutely loved is the setting that Holly Black has created. Like, her descriptions just create those beautiful pictures in your mind. Everything's just so elegant and beautiful. Even the characters, because they are fairy, they're all described as being so beautiful, and that is just so nice to picture in your head when you're reading a book. Next is the characters. I loved every single one, even the villains, because I am a person that ends up always liking the bad guys. The villains in this were really good. They were really necessary to the book. Obviously it's called The Cruel Prince, so you can kind of guess it's about people being not very nice. But yeah, the characters are amazing. Jude, I know some people don't really like her. I've only read The Cruel Prince, so I can't comment on the rest of the books, but obviously from reading the first book I thought she was okay. I maybe don't agree with some of the decisions she made, but I do understand why she made them, so I completely accept that. Cardan, Prince Cardan, he was awesome, like such a cool character, and yeah, it's just the most epic like fantasy that I've read so far. It's just so beautiful and so nice, and if you love political intrigue then you will love The Cruel Prince, because it focuses a lot on kind of the kings and the prince and the politics of the whole land and stuff like that. So if you're interested in something like that, if you love like shocks and twists and badass female characters, then you should love this. So if you haven't read The Cruel Prince already and you love fantasy, then please give it a go. And I of course gave this novel 5 stars out of 5, and I will read it so many times and I will cherish it forever. So there are all the books that I read in March. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what books you've been reading recently. Maybe not March because that was such a long time ago, but just let me know what you've been reading recently. Let me know if you're enjoying my videos so far, because it really helps me to know what you're liking. You can request videos. I will always do requests. So please let me know your favourite books. Please tell me what videos to do. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you soon. Goodbye.